Wasn't Confucius the ones that had all the dumb ones, like if you drop watch in toilet, bound to have shitty time, or something like that?
No.
Because Confucius, I don't think wasn't he not like an actual
man who goes to bed with an itchy butt, wakes up with stingy finger.
Okay. Alright.
that reminds me of just Facebook 2005. That's like the only thing that pops into my head when I hear those. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 58 of the Thought Patrol podcast. I'm your host, Kyle.
Stop. You're cringe. I cringe. Fuck, that hurt.
I'm joined by Caitlyn and
Hello.
Shawn over Discord.
Hello. I'm also over Discord. Right now I'm in New York City.
Hello.
Fuck.
Hello.
Shawn and his beautiful...
So for the first time, I'm over Discord.
Caitlin's over Discord.
Yeah, I'm in New York City.
How do you sound so good over Discord, Caitlyn?
I brought the mic with me.
It sounds like you're right in the room with me.
Yeah, I traveled with the mic.
That's so magical.
What are you doing in New York City, Caitlyn?
I'm on tour.
Touring for what?
My band.
What's your band name?
Chick-fil-A.
I think you failed.
Fuck, I was trying.
You screwed up the story,
yeah,
kid.
Whatever, man.
All right, she is here right now.
You're going too fast. You're asking the questions too fast.
That's the idea.
is badass at improv. Let's say thinking on her feet.
Keep your eyes out for the new Chick-fil-A commercials starring Caitlyn and her band. Don't Chick-fil-A, Jesus.
Were we talking about our chicken? Chicken's so good.
I've seen it. It's a combination of frying chicken and burlesque. It's pure art.
Burlesque.
That's fantastic. All right, so I'm glad you both can join me. All you guys tuning in from the nether reaches of the internet and all that shit. We do appreciate you guys
The
for...
reaches of their pants.
We do appreciate you guys for sticking with us every week and checking us out. One thing, before we go into our podcast and move forward, we're going to start with some intros. I want to see how you guys' weeks been. I don't know what the fuck I just said. How your guys...
How's that been?
how your guys' weeks have been. If you've done anything interesting that you want to share, I would appreciate it. Got a pad for time, as always.
I got you.
So we'll start with Caitlyn. Caitlyn, have you done anything worth notice this week? Worthy of notice this week?
Let me
I'll
think.
take that as a negative ghost, right?
Not really, you know? I mean, my birthday was on Friday. Friday the 13th.
Caitlyn is 1 year closer to death. That is always
1 year
exciting.
further from birth. You got it.
Yep.
I'm
Why
still
you gotta
kicking.
spoil
so
everything, Kyle?
I know, right? Fuck. But
I had a birthday. Hey, you're almost dead. Way to go.
Congrats.
Somehow
you've made it this far.
yeah, somehow I made it to 19. I
No,
don't get
Caitlyn
it.
has
I don't know.
What's your motto, Caitlyn? What do you live by?
I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
There you go.
Like,
That's the word. That's the word.
that's how you live. That's how you live, guys. Come on. That's the motto for everybody.
I'm about to snort an entire line of cocaine.
Just
God,
ready.
right on the podcast, dude.
Right on the podcast.
Yeah, I don't. You guys don't know where we live.
And you know, I had to work on my birthday. Okay.
Oh, damn, dude, that was a fat stack right there.
For real.
Shit.
So I actually had to work on my birthday for the first time, and it was very depressing.
Which is your fault.
It was depressing.
It is your fault.
It was my fault, honestly.
All I gotta do is take the day off.
Yeah, that was. He said you get used to it. That's
I've
even
worked
more
on my
depressing.
birthday before. I worked on my
That's messed
birthday
up.
It
this
is
year.
depressing.
That's messed up.
I used to get dragged out kicking and screaming for my birthday because I had many, many friends, but now nobody likes me anymore, so I
Me as
just
hell.
work.
I like you, Shawn.
Me
It's
as
just you
well.
live too far away from me. But I
Dude, we would hang
Yeah.
out.
I have dreams of touching your pee-pee, if that counts.
Me too.
You know what my favorite insult is now? It's completely stolen from someone else. His name's Summit1G. He streams. But when he gets mad at someone, he just says their mom has a wiener. Something about that is so funny to me. Like there's...
I tell somebody to lick the snotty end of my fuck stick, and then I watch it slowly sneak in, and then when the snotty part actually registers, then their face twists in horror.
He'll be just like playing a game, and it'll have like proximity chat. So if he speaks, the people around him will hear it. So he'll be like, "Dude," he's like, "No, dude, don't kill me, please." He's like, "Please, please," and then they'll like kill him, and he'll be like, "Whatever, fuck you, dude. Your mom has a wiener." And that phrase is just so funny to me. I like the word wiener. It's probably my top 5 words of all time. Wiener.
Okay.
Wiener's pretty good.
Alright.
Wiener and boobies, but I think
Yeah.
boobies is probably inches out wiener.
That and shuttlecock. Speaking of shuttlecock,
Oh,
I didn't watch the
God damn
badminton
it.
anime today, and I feel like
How about you?
clinically
I know what
depressed
we're gonna
right
end up
now.
doing
Let me tell
tonight.
you, I got beef with this show because I feel like it's really shitty.
It's not that bad. I've seen better sports animes.
It has
like Kuroko no Basket?
mega tits in it. Like it has the most intense like breasts of any anime I've ever seen.
What?
Like those breasts work out more than she does.
Shit.
Speaking of
No, it's
good-
not realistic because if you're athletic, you don't have boobs. That's not realistic. If
Yeah,
you're
it's
an
Not true.
athletic
I've known
person, you
some
don't have
athletes
any
that still
boobs.
have boobs.
Look at
But they
volleyball.
wear fucking volleyball.
I was
Volleyball
thinking
players
tennis,
got-
but you're like
But
Big
they
old
wear-
bongles.
no. In tennis, they have.
Anna Kournikova had awesome tits, and she was in tennis.
Yeah,
Well, normally
I mean
though.
badminton is just like a
but-
form of
and
tennis.
normally they wear sports bras, and their tits don't do
Oh,
fucking
yeah, they're not-
counterclockwise
yeah.
motions all day.
That's anime though.
No.
I think
That's
the
not
writing in this
anime.
show
No,
isn't
no,
too
no,
bad
no.
though. I think it's okay.
Caitlyn,
Although
did you notice like how mega her boobs are when she's fucking doing
Yeah,
stuff?
I only
Like,
watched one episode and I was like, this is shit.
Speaking of
I
that,
don't like
cameras,
this.
like the camera's looking at the viewer, and it's like, hey, check out these tits.
speaking of like good sports anime, me and Shawn have been watching Haikyuu, which I've been trying to get Caitlyn to watch for ages,
Which
but
one
she
is
just
that?
doesn't want to give me the time of day.
Oh,
The volleyball
Caitlyn,
one.
it has Natsu in it. It's got Natsu in it.
Yeah, it's like a reincarnation of Natsu.
I just don't like sports
Yeah.
anime. The only one I've
this
ever
one's
watched was
fucking-
Natsu
Kuroko
in
no
the
Basket.
real world. You don't understand.
It's
Oh, it's
fucking-
the guy with the orange hair, right?
Yeah, Hinata.
Yes.
His name is Hinata.
Yeah.
Isn't that a girl name?
No, I think it's
Natsu.
unisex.
It's gonna be like free, where like all the guys have girl names.
All the guys.
You ever seen
Well, this
Free,
is the,
Shawn?
SJWH. Free. No.
It's the swimming
It's
one.
the swimming gay ass one.
Oh, no, I thought it was like one of those like male romance things, and I dodged around that shit with a heartbeat.
I should have done the same. I watched one season and I was like, okay. I
think
was young and I was like, I like
To tell you the
this.
truth, I think you'll like Haikyuu
did I
a
just
lot.
poke
We
you?
just got to get into it. Me and Shawn have like royally.
no,
enjoyed it. It's
like,
almost
I'm-
like a treat.
I'm like
a
after
nice,
Yeah.
a nice New York slice of cheesecake. Kind
that
of
was a
level.
terrible
There's a-
analogy. That was a terrible
It was
analogy.
good, dude. Fuck you.
No, but like I've been hooked on Darling in the Franxx.
Yo.
So it's gonna take me a minute.
After we finish Darling in the Franxx, we're
No. When we've stopped watching that, I have to recover. I need some time to recover.
you're
Like,
gonna have to recover.
yeah, I know I will. So I'm
know
gonna
you
need.
will,
I'm
too.
gonna need some time.
And Shawn knows you will.
I'm gonna have to watch something really lighthearted, like
So
that fucking platelet show.
02 Best Girl.
02 is best girl, 100%.
I would tell you 100%.
Yeah.
Haikyuu is very lighthearted. It's not. It's
No,
not-
I'm watching that platelet show.
We can, dude. I fucking.
need to watch
adore.
something light.
It's
I
Osmosis
don't-
Jones, the anime.
Okay.
And I
I don't
I
fucking
think
adore
after
it.
you watch that, you should probably watch Your Lie in April to recover. You really
No,
need something
listen.
light.
No, I'm good, dude.
heavy.
No.
Caitlyn knows about it.
I don't need more
She hasn't
depression
watched
thrown
it, but
my
she
way.
knows that it is a
I
no-go.
still cry.
No, I got
That was
the
4 years
ending.
ago,
Like
and I still cry.
I got the ending spoiled for me, so that's why I know what happens.
Oh, that's a rip.
What?
Yeah, I was
to
on
go to that
Facebook.
person.
No, I was on
Show?
for Your Lie in April.
Did you castrate them or devaginize them?
Well,
or
it was
whatever?
it was when I still had iFunny, and that's how it got spoiled for me. And now I had to
Dude,
uninstall
iFunny.
Oh
iFunny.
my
I had to
god,
uninstall
those
it.
assholes on iFunny.
For real. I was like, "Are you serious?"
I have so much shit spoiled for me on
I
iPhone
would
that
have.
when
That's why I hate spoilers. Like I
It'd be like
freaking
James
hate
Bond and Bob
spoilers.
Strikes Back. I would play the lottery just to win it, to spend all the money to find the guy that made that meme, to show up and punch him in his fucking face.
For which meme?
whatever
The
spoiled
meme
you.
that ruined.
Oh,
Yeah,
it wasn't even like
spoil it.
funny.
I would.
It was just like a spoiler
It's
for a
interesting
spoiler.
because like I find a lot of animes
Yeah,
that
I
interest
punched him in
me.
the face twice.
I find a lot
I
of
would punch him
animes
in the
that
face
interest
four
me on iFunny, like the Platelet Show. I found on iFunny. I didn't know it existed until I saw a
Well-
clip of the platelets on iFunny, and I'm like, I have to watch this now, like right
Well,
now.
I just got so mad at it. I had to
Knowing
uninstall it.
about it would ruin the gravity of it. It would take away some of that.
Yeah, so I just
impact.
never watched
Yeah.
it.
I'm
I was
not.
like, whatever.
I really, me
It
personally,
hurt. It like I went to work grieving, like I lost somebody. Like I have
No,
never
listen.
finished an anime and gone to work the next day that upset.
That's
It was
only happened to me
so
one
weird
time.
for me.
There's a show called Downton Abbey, right? And it's like a BBC show.
Comedy show?
No, comedy. It's like a BBC, like it's like a British drama.
Yeah.
It's called Downton Abbey.
Oh, I think I saw one episode.
Okay. Well, I watched the first few seasons because my grandma wanted me to watch it. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what's this? And so I was watching it. And there's this one character in it. And he was such a cinnamon roll. And he was so amazing. I loved him so much.
A cinnamon roll is just like a character that's really like sweet. Someone like All Might. All Might is a cinnamon roll.
No, Deku's the cinnamon roll.
All Might is also a cinnamon roll though. Like when that one part where Deku's like going and All Might like has his little lunch.
Story.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
let me finish my story.
Don't you fucking tell me.
So his name was Matthew, right? And on this show, I was watching it and I fell in love with this character. Like, cause he's like you know how you have that character every once in a while and they're genuinely interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, is this a thing you were raging over like 2 years ago?
Yes, I still haven't finished it because I haven't recovered. Anyways, so spoilers. Skip a few seconds if you're watching Downton Abbey, which I doubt any of you are. Yeah, but this character, he
just don't say his name.
I already said his name. So this character, he's like with one of the main characters, and they got married, and they just had a baby, like their second baby, and like they were so happy. And he was going to meet his wife that had just given birth, hadn't even met the damn baby, right? And he got into a car accident and he died. And that was the last episode. And I seriously cried. Like, I shed tears over this character. Like, it was so, like, the way they did it was just so, and I was talking to my grandma about it, and they said that episode came out on Christmas Eve.
Rip.
Who does that?
What kind of asshole puts an episode like that out on Christmas Eve?
For real, that's what I said. I'm glad I didn't watch it like on Christmas Eve, but I cried. Like I grieved. Like I seriously grieved.
When we were watching Darling in the Franxx today, when they had that whole flashback episode where they showed like 02 as a child.
It was so well done.
That shit made me cry.
It
made me cry the first time I watched it, but it's just because it's like
the only time I've cried in Darling in the Franxx is when they like showed that fat guy was throwing up, like his food. I was like. Oh shit! I was like, no, like you gotta believe me.
Futoshi was, he was puking up his food.
I got so sad.
He didn't like that.
Now he's a cinnamon roll, and I felt terrible for him.
Don't really.
He's been a cinnamon roll since Jump.
Yeah,
they're all cinnamon rolls.
Like the way he treats Kokoro and stuff.
Yeah,
Coco Ho. I mean,
Coco. That's what they call her.
Hey.
Oh, we got a fan over here.
No, Kokoro.
No, Kokoro's a bitch, man.
To tell you the truth, I love her character.
She made me mad.
You see the soft side of the kid that
was a nice snap.
The kid that sounds like Baruto. What's his name? Zerome.
The fucker, the young
the young kid. You see a soft side of him because he's like really genuinely hurt that Futoshi's like throwing up his food.
Yes. Oh, that's what made me cry.
That's because they're a family.
Yeah.
You know, like the one good thing about that show is that like a character like Ichigo, I would normally like hate. Like seriously, I would not like like I wouldn't actually. You know what I mean? Like but I don't like that. Like like that kind of a character, like a serious cockblock. Like I would get pissed off over them. But the way that they made Ichigo's character, and like I don't know how I'm gonna do this. They made it the way they made her character. Like it's really hard for me to hate her, and I think that's such good character design. When like you see, why are you smiling at me like that?
I don't know. Just listening to you.
Like
because they made her a real person. They made all of them real.
Well, I hate real people, so I don't agree with that side. But I just think they like the way, like can I talk about it? Like the way that like Ichigo.
Nothing big spoilery.
No, but like that like 02 and Hero get together.
Thing, yeah.
So like the way that she took it with such grace, and she's like, "Oh, I'm happy for you two," and she wasn't like
when
she
didn't
said
initially
that.
Take it
yeah,
with
I know
grace,
that, but like in the end, she did. Like when she saw that they were definitely like meant to be together or whatever. Like she didn't cry. Or anything.
Surrendered, kind of. She surrendered Hero to 02.
Yeah, and like I thought she took it with such grace.
Love with him.
One more time.
Like. I like the fact that it is because I have seen it and I've experienced it. Some people, when you fall in love with them, you never fall out of love with them. You stay in love with them the rest of your life. That doesn't mean you can't be in love with somebody else. It's just you understand this is achievable, this is not. And you take the things that aren't achievable and you put them in a place in your heart and they stay there. And you have to see them as a memory, even if it's a real feeling. Memories are still real feelings. It's just you have to learn to separate yourself from the things that you cannot have, and
right.
By the end of that show, by the time the final credits roll, she's still head over heels in love with him. You will always be.
Stop spoiling, dude.
I'm not dying.
That's not spoiling anything. That's not spoiling anything. But it comes back to what you said. It's how she handles it, and every character
It's
in
just
that
so
show
gracefully. I just love
learns
it.
to handle things the right way.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah, it's just so great.
They are all
Their character
they all grow
great.
and they show that maturity as they get closer to each other and more understanding of the world around them. There is a lot of maturity. This whole show is technically a souped up coming of life drama.
Basically, yeah.
Coming of age drama. Yeah. My bad.
Coming of life.
It's a there's just mechs thrown in and aliens involved and shit, but all of it is.
I think that like really
age.
enriches the show too.
It is.
Like,
it's
having
really
all those extra
the
elements.
whole thing is a coming of life drama wrapped in sci-fi.
Coming of age.
Coming of. Did you say coming of life?
Coming of life from now on.
I just think that show's. I think that show's great. I have to recommend it to every single person I ever meet from now on.
I like it. It has its issues here and there, and we haven't got to them. I
was about to say, like, I don't know any issues.
I've seen people talk mad shit about this show because it ended.
Well, they can come straight to me, and I'll punch them in the face.
I don't know. I understand that you should take something as an entire.
I think Caitlyn, you'll.
Go ahead.
No, you start it first.
I don't know what I was saying. Continue.
People have bad shit or something. But I want to hear what you were saying, so fuck off. Go ahead.
I think there's a 50-50 shot. Either you're going to be 100% happy with the ending, or you're going to be sitting in the same place I am. Being a fan of literature as you are, I think that you will not see it as a perfect ending, but I think you'll accept it like I did.
I thought it was okay. It wasn't spectacular,
it wasn't great.
But I thought that its place.
What's a good
was
ending to an anime? Like, what anime has
It's
a great
because they
ending?
crammed the entire third act
Full
into
Metal?
4 episodes.
It depends on what
Metal?
you consider the context of the show and how it moves.
I'd say Brotherhood was perfect.
I think it did have a good ending.
Yeah, I think so
God
too.
damn it, I did it again. I'm sorry. The only problem with Brotherhood is they didn't spend enough time on Hughes. The original series spent time developing Hughes so that and spoiler alert, guys, his
daughter dies
when he was murdered.
Yeah, he was killed.
Yeah, he was murdered. The loss of Hughes in the first series.
Hughes is like I forgot.
He was one of the military.
The guy with the glasses who was always showing pictures of his wife and daughter.
No memories. Fuck.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, he was drilled in. Like they didn't use him too much, but it was laid on strongly. Into the first series, so that when they ripped him out, you felt his loss. But when you watch Brotherhood, he doesn't have as many scenes, and they don't build him up as much. So when he's taken in Brotherhood, you don't feel it as strongly. But because they were working with such an intense amount of material, I understand why they made the sacrifices. I think even if they had to extend it by 1 episode budgetarily, I think it would have been worth it to squeeze him in like another 5 or 10 minutes throughout the series, 15 minutes, something like that. Give him more time because the original series spent so much time. But outside of that, Brotherhood was perfect.
I'm thinking
it was one of the few animes I can't find a lot of problems with.
I thought good endings. I think a lot of it resides within the context of the show, if it makes sense within the rules that the show sets up. And I'm not the type of person that's all about. I thought Erased had a good ending.
I thought it had a good ending too.
I'm not the type of person that's like that has to be happy. If the main character dies, so be it.
Oh no, I have to be pleased with an ending.
That's what Shawn. But just because someone dies or it doesn't end in the way that you were expecting doesn't mean you can't be pleased with it. I'm saying that it's hard, kind of, to put it into words. But like, if someone did die in a show, but it made sense to the show, and
Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, Cowboy.
Perfect example. There's no other way that show could have ended. I didn't want it to end that way. I'm still not happy about it, but that show is extremely well done, and I still love it. It's just tragic.
Yeah.
But there's no way that Spike was going to end any other way. And Your Lie in April, as much as I would desperately go back in time and have that guy write a happy ending, the show wouldn't have the resonance it does without it. Or Final Fantasy VII when they killed Aerith. Same thing. The resonance of that game exists. Like, she's the thing that makes it memorable. Her death is the first role-playing game where you lose a character that major, that integral to the plot, and it changes the context of everything after. Everything has a heavier weight to it because those characters are immortal. They can die, and they took the heart of the party and killed her.
Yeah.
So when you take a show and you're willing to hurt a character or kill a character like that, like it adds a certain amount of gravitas to what's happening, like a lot. And when shows where they're killing people left and right, that's just constant levels of tragedy. But if you get to know those people, you know, I don't know, it does add something. It doesn't mean I'm happy with the ending, but I can be happy and not happy with something at the same time.
Yeah,
So
you're accepting of it. All right. We're so fucking off topic. So, Caitlyn, you like Darling in the Franxx. We will review the show once Caitlyn finishes it.
Yes, please.
And all three of us will sit down and have a discussion of it on one of our review topics, either next week or the week after, depending how long it takes.
Stay tuned. We're gonna tear it apart. Stay tuned.
They need a sequel.
It would be interesting.
It'd be their kids. Their kids fighting off the next invasion.
Shut up with the spoilers. What the hell's wrong with you? Can you get my pen? I just launched across the room.
It just makes sense.
I can't see it.
It's between those two shoes over there. In between the shoes.
I have my glasses on. I can't see.
Oh my fucking god! All right, Caitlyn, continue with your week.
I'm almost done with one of my classes, which feels really great. I just hate summer school. I mean, whoever decided that summer school should be a thing can just go and die in a hole. I don't want to get my degree faster, all right? How about that? I won't! Not anymore. We got we have almost a month until I go to Greece for 2 weeks, which is going to be cool. I'm excited about that.
Ooh, you're going to find yourself a European boy and replace me? I'm going to be so upset.
Doubt it. I doubt it. But that's exciting. So yeah, my week was good.
You still haven't finished God of War, you piece of trash.
Yes.
You still haven't finished Persona 5,
yes,
you piece of
I
trash.
still haven't finished anything.
And now you're talking about playing Last of Us.
No, I was thinking about playing it because the new game is coming
I think.
out. But like after seeing that trailer and seeing those two girls kiss, I was just like,
well, she's like that.
it.
That's her
I was
character.
like, fuck
Last
it.
of Us was a good fucking
He's
game.
been a lesbian the whole time.
You need to play it. It was a good game.
I don't want to.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Okay.
I don't think
Her
my
lover
life will
died
be
in
any
the first
different.
game.
I thought it was a good game. You could play. I mean, it's made by the same people that made Uncharted, and you liked Uncharted a lot.
Loved Uncharted.
Well, there you go. You could go back and play the original 3 Uncharted games. See how Nathan started, since you only played 4.
I thought no. I'm just gonna stick with Uncharted 4.
Why?
I don't know.
Well,
like
whatever. Fucking finish Persona 5
I will.
and finish God of War.
I will. I was
2 of the best games to come out on the PlayStation.
I still haven't played Nier either.
Kyle.
That's gonna take me like 4 years though.
Nier makes me come.
Kyle,
All right.
Yes, Shawn. What can I do for you?
find me the track, because I'm only going to play that game once because I have so many other games to catch up on. Find me the track that allows you to accomplish all of the relationships, because you said it's hard, but it's there. Find me the track online that allows you to accomplish all the relationships in Persona 5? And I will start it.
Wait, why would you want to date more than one person?
There is a walkthrough that will tell you exactly what to do on each day in an Excel document in order to 100% the game.
Excel? No, I hate Excel. Wait, what's the name?
If you want to play the...
What's the name of my waifu in that game? I forgot her name.
Makoto. Isn't it?
Yes!
Makoto.
No.
Yeah, it's the bite girl.
That's my bitch. Dude.
Yeah.
She is... Why would you want to date more than anybody else other than Makoto?
It's more of like a
She's best girl.
a completionist kind of thing.
She's best girl.
Shawn, there is a spreadsheet you could find that will tell you exactly what to do on each day to get through the game entirely. You could also make it a lot easier on yourself if you play on the easiest difficulty, because then you don't have to farm as much, and you have a lot more time just to engage in the social aspect
That's
of the
what
game.
I play the game on.
Yeah,
Easy.
I played it on the second to hardest difficulty, and I had times where I'm like, a bitch, back off. I gotta go farm. I can't do anything else today.
Snap.
I will see you later. This dungeon is kicking my ass.
Futaba was like wanting it, and Kyle was like, no.
Futaba can get the dick anytime she wants.
Okay. All right. Dude, I hate Futaba. Like,
why?
Well, I don't hate her.
Did you spend time getting to know her and her past?
Oh, I did her entire thing.
Well, obviously that's part of the story.
What are they called?
Her dungeon. Or,
No, it's not a dungeon.
Palace.
Her
Is it
palace. Yeah, it's her
I think
palace.
it's palace.
I did her palace.
God, that
whatever.
show is fucking so good. Or that game is so good, dude.
I just didn't like her character. I thought it was kind of annoying.
I think I don't know. I think you would like Nier because it's fun to play.
Well, I did.
And it's got
I
fantastic
have played
music.
a little bit of Nier. Like I played the part where you go and you fight that girl that was in the demo. Like the robot that had like a bunch of
Yeah, but you didn't
robots.
get up to that part. You just played that part.
Yeah, I did go up to that part.
You got up to the.
I probably played like the game for a good 2 hours already.
Yes, you don't do that in 2 hours, kid. It takes an hour just to get out of the damn tutorial. You don't get to that boss in 2 hours.
How much you want to bet? I'll turn on the PlayStation right now.
We'll check it after. We're not doing it right now. But it does not take 2 hours. It takes like 6 to 7 hours to get to that first.
Well, I got to that boss and I beat that boss.
Okay.
And I loved that part of the game. But then like
it was fantastic.
when you finish that and you go out and it's just like open world and I'm just like I'm not a fan of that.
It's technically not. I mean, it's partially open world, but you can just do the main story and not have to do anything else. There's a lot to do if you decide to. There's no one holding you at gunpoint.
Yes.
Last time I played a Persona game, I disappeared off the face of the earth for a good amount of time. Like, I was playing Persona 4, and I didn't even sleep. Like, I couldn't stop playing the game.
Well, you got a good time to do it because there's nothing else fucking going on right now. We have nothing else going on whatsoever. So this is the perfect time to get involved in a game like that because you have the time to do it, especially before we get back into fall where we're at now, or as we get closer to fall with Spider-Man, Last of Us. I'm trying to think of games that you'd actually be buying. Fallout. Sean's not buying Fallout, I don't think.
Oh, really?
Well, it's
not unless you buy it. If you buy it on a.
Hey, Caitlyn, if you want to play with Shawn, buy the
it.
game, buy PlayStation Plus, you can play with Shawn. There you go. I'm buying it on PC, though.
We could all... Oh, you can't play with
No, it's not crossplay. They tried. They're trying to do crossplay, but Sony's a cunt.
Wait, they're trying?
Yeah, Bethesda's trying to do Fallout 76 as crossplay. They want to. But Sony's not the best with that.
No, don't do that. Just ruin it even more.
What do you mean ruin it? I mean, it'd be opt-in. You'd have to invite someone that would want to play crossplay. It's not like you'll just be running into people on PC at the random. The formula for it now is opt-in. You have to, like, when you invite someone that's playing on console, that console player is unknowingly signing a contract that says, hey, you might have a PC player in this game, just letting you know.
I'm mad at
if we could have crossplay on everything, that'd be fucking fantastic. We're not there yet. It'd be cool if we could see it in the future.
When you like get married and then you like get really mad at your spouse and you're like, why'd you do that? That's how I feel right now with Bethesda.
Oh, at Bethesda.
No, with Bethesda and I, we were married. We were married.
For me.
What happened?
You said welcome to Final Fantasy.
Welcome to Final Fantasy 15 for me. Kyle had to deal with it for like 3 months.
Listen.
Oh yeah, Final Fantasy 15.
Bethesda and I were married, and now I'm trying to get a divorce.
Okay, Shawn, how's your?
Yeah, you don't want that Bethesda dick anymore.
No more.
Shawn, how's your?
No, I'm a triggered dick now.
I'm asking Shawn how his week has been.
You guys interrupted me like 20 times.
Any games
I
you've been
worked
getting
a lot.
into?
I played some of Terra. It's okay.
Yeah, that's everyone's consensus on most free-to-play MMOs. It's okay. Nothing really stands out.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's nice, but it's extremely predictable, I guess, is the word. I don't fucking know. It's very
generic.
Boring.
Yeah.
Yes, generic. Thank you. That is the word.
I got the same feeling. Generic. That's what I got when I played Terra.
I like the controls. I like the abilities. I like the character design. There's nothing about the story that's interesting me at all. And the mechanics play like a console game, actually. And I was expecting something a little bit deeper, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I got spoiled by Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy is good, and it plays amazingly well on a PlayStation. I've been thinking of every time I think I'm enjoying WoW for what I'm playing for it. Although there has been some nuisances as I've played that have tilted the fuck out of me in my play sessions. But I'm thinking about as soon as Azeroth, I get like a taste of Azeroth, a decent taste. I'll be switching back to Final Fantasy, especially since they're coming out with their next like free expansion thing that they're doing soon. So I'll probably be switching back then, and then I'll be back over there, and that's cool. I like that MMO mostly because we could play everyone can kind of play together because it's crossplay, which is one of my favorite things. And I love Final Fantasy, so seeing that and that nostalgic factor it has, seeing some of these bosses I've encountered in older games, and just the world being kind of like a love letter to Final Fantasy fans. That's cool. So I've been playing WoW.
Outside of that, I haven't really done all that much.
One thing that I can agree with, like, the WoW, is I think it feels really good. It's a good feeling MMO. Final Fantasy does also feel good. It has some times where it's clunky with certain spells, like if you're trying to cancel animations and shit like that. But for the most part, it's a very good feeling MMO. It looks nice. It's pretty. This is all Final Fantasy I'm talking about. And WoW does feel good. I like the world design in WoW, although the game isn't the prettiest because they have to keep it where someone on a baked potato can still play the game. I'm still enjoying it for the most part. I like the systems they have in play for Legion currently. I've heard people complaining about some stuff they have for Battle for Azeroth as we get closer to it. So I don't know how I feel about it yet. We'll see what happens when it comes out in August. And I'll be playing that off and on for a while. I know that we have a small group that we want to try and go do all the old legacy raids and stuff and just kind of experience them, see what they're like. And just kind of, yeah, we've been enjoying it for the most part. Fortnite started Season 5, and I had enough V-Bucks from playing the PvE to get the Battle Pass for free. So I've played it a little bit here and there when other people are playing it. Not really. I don't play it on my own. It's not something that I enjoy by myself. But for the most part, it's okay. It's enjoyable. It feels good. I still, I don't know. I don't like the bloom that exists in it. Like where if you go to aim down, you have a cone of where your bullets might go instead of being 100% accurate. 100% accurate all the time. That kind of annoys me. I know if you stay still for a second, you get one shot that's perfect. But like there's other Battle Royale games that are up and coming, like Isles of the Nine, which actually just looks like Call of Duty in a Battle Royale area. And if it feels as good as Call of Duty plays, but it isn't Call of Duty, then it might be an enjoyable Battle Royale game. I have yet to come into a Battle Royale game that I think feels really good, like a really good FPS game. Because PUBG definitely wasn't that. And Fortnite is only kind of an FPS game because it has all these elements that make it want to be something else that isn't an FPS game. So it just doesn't feel that good to me. So that's that. I didn't have to pay for the damn Battle Pass, and I got a skin out of it, so it's not that bad. And that's been about it. Just been kind of grinding out. I got Octopath Traveler. That came out on Friday, and I played about 2 to 3 hours of that game, and it's pretty fucking good. It's got me really excited to see what else comes. I like the idea of 8 characters that all their paths intertwine as you play through the story. So far, the writing's okay. It's serviceable. I haven't had anything wow me or disappoint me so far. The music's really good. Square Enix, they always I'm trying to think of the word. Always take throttle up to 11 for their music. It all feels very much like Final Fantasy, and that's completely fine to me. And I had an idea for a main topic that we could talk about, also involving Lark's question that he sent us in, so we'll save his question for when we get into the main topic, and that will be talking about kind of like, since nothing's really been happening in games, we're in like a lull right now as we move into the fall season. Nothing really noteworthy has been happening. So we're going to kind of talk about the idea of creating retro feeling games, the purpose behind them, and kind of involving Lark's question, some IPs we'd like to get to see that treatment in the way of Octopath. In honor of Octopath coming out. So that's that. My week's been good though. The only interesting thing that really happened was I went to GameStop, traded in a bunch of games. They had a promotional event going on where if you trade in games towards the purchase of a pre-owned game, you get an extra 50% towards your trade-in value. So I made like $130 trading in like 6 games. I completely pre-ordered. I canceled my pre-order on Amazon for Spider-Man and put all that towards GameStop, and did that also with Red Dead Redemption. So I'll be getting those 2 games on PS4 when they eventually come out. That's got me excited though. Red Dead ain't coming to PC for a while, so I probably won't even pick it up for PC. And then I'll just play with you guys on PS4 and enjoy it that way. So definitely excited. I technically made some money. Those games were dead weight. I really wasn't going to be playing them anytime soon. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get into this fall season already. Play some badass fucking games. That's what I'm looking forward to. So that's been my week. I'm glad you both can join me, as always, for episode 58 of the Thought Patrol podcast. We're going to move into some clerical bullshit real quick, as always. Give you guys some of the ways that you can connect with us here at the Thought Patrol podcast. Some things that are going about in our weekly events that we do here on the channel, or on the podcast as well. Excuse me. So, as I said last week, we are doing weekly Twitch streams now. We've been doing them for the past 2 or 3 weeks. I'm not entirely sure. We are trying to get to 50 followers, which will then in turn allow us to do subscriptions and bits, which is a way for you guys to support us at the Thought Patrol podcast. Once we do get to that point, I'll set up like emotes, and you'll get like a golden light bulb for your picture next to your name on Twitch and stuff like that to show that you support the channel. And things like that. We just got to get there first. I think we're at either 46 or 47 followers, so we're really close. So if you do have a Twitch account and you want to support us, a follow would be super appreciated. We do stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from either 8 or 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. And that is, for the most part, the schedule. We play a range of things. It could be anywhere from, right now we've been playing Dying Light and Prey, because I know Funny Guy and Frost in the Discord, we've been all enjoying Prey equally, playing through the game in our own ways. I know they're going like crazy, like straight up space mage shit where they're shooting like lightning bolts and blowing stuff up, and I'm just using normal boring guns and stuff like that. But we all kind of share our experiences with that over on Discord, which is pretty cool. So definitely feel free to check that out. We would appreciate it immensely if you guys can give us a follow, help us get to that 50 follower goal, so we could start monetizing that. That would be super. I'd appreciate that a lot. That'd be one way you guys can help us out. Like I said before, we have a Discord. If you want to come by and say hi, talk to the community members, or talk to some of the hosts, you can do that. All these methods of connecting with us will be in the description below wherever you are tuning into us, either on YouTube or your respective podcasting service. If you are on YouTube and we talk about something this week that interests you, or something you have an opinion on, you want to let us know, feel free to leave a comment below. You could also subscribe while you're doing that, and also feel free to subscribe on any podcast service you're listening to so you can hear from us every week, Tuesday at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We also have a Twitter at ThoughtPatrolPD, where you can keep up to date with us, announcements for streams, what we'll be doing. If we do some kind of community stream, I do want to get that down eventually. If we ever get big enough, it'd be cool to have like just a bunch of multiplayer games going on with the community. That'd be awesome. And finally, one way to help us out would be leaving us an iTunes review. Be truthful, I guess. Whatever you think we deserve as a podcast. We'd love to hear from you guys, like just genuine feedback, so we could work on making this show better for you guys. And tuning that towards your guys' interests. So that'd be it for the housekeeping. It gets longer every time I say it because we got more and more shit that we do. So now we're going to move on to our glorious mailbag segment, and we have a doozy today from our boy Sam Harris. Quite the doozy indeed. He has written us a little narrative for us to read, so we are going to do that in character. Shawn will be our narrator. Shawn will also be our friendly, grumpy gunslinger dwarf, Seamus. Should have been just Seaman, because it's close enough. Caitlyn is Kay, the elven cleric. And I am Bo, the Hellcat Tiefling. So we all have the document here. I have everything color-coded, so hopefully we don't fuck this up. We're going to try to keep it as smooth as possible. And then so Shawn will start with the narration. Give me like, it doesn't have to be epic, but give me like your innkeeper voice or some shit like that. Something to get us in the mood.
I was going to do 80s cartoon narrator.
Oh, that's perfect. I'll take that shit.
Okay. Bo, the cat tiefling knelt down and picked up the lightning bolt pendant lying on the ground in the forest clearing just moments after seeing the small hooded figure, who he recognized as Gnomish Mage from his voice and demeanor, vanish in a flash of blue light.
Oh, what is this? I bet it's worth a fortune.
Kay the elven cleric piped up.
Oh, fuck, I don't remember what my voice was. What did I say my voice
Kyle,
was
of
gonna
course,
be?
fucks it up.
God damn it, I forgot what I thought I was going to do. I'm just going to be rusted, like Batman-esque. I don't know. I feel like I should, but I just can't put my finger on it.
Bo replied in a frustrated tone. Seamus, the grumpy gunslinger dwarf, remarked, "Oh, it's probably that little fella's family heirloom, but my guess this would be a piece of junk, just like all magic."
That's you.
That's not me.
Bo
That's
ignored
Shawn.
the ranting of his Yes. Bo ignored the ranting of his curmudgeonly instilled companion and began casting Detect Magic. As soon as he finished the incantation, the pendant began vibrating violently and started floating in midair. "Move, boy! Let me blast the cursed trinket out of this realm!" Seamus exclaimed as he primed his four-chambered pistol. Wink, wink.
Wait, don't shoot.
Bo said as he held up his hand towards Seamus, still focused on the pendant.
Yeah.
Kay piped up.
It could probably be sold to some rich fool in town for a lot of gold.
Suddenly, the pendant shot out a bright, blinding light, white in color, and in the center of it, it was tall and lanky, wearing a long gray cloak and dark blue robes. As the lights subsided, the face of the figure came into view. A gray-skinned, dragonborn male with one horn shaved down to a nub and the other seemingly broken off. He carried a staff with a crystal embedded at the top and was wearing a dark brown satchel fanny pack at his hip. The old wizard stepped forward toward Bo and spoke in a soft voice.
Yeah, young one. My tendinitis. You have experienced tragedy. I see it in your face. But do not be sorrow-stricken, for today I give you something of great importance, an aid to your quest. But you must answer this riddle that comes from another realm. What, in your opinion, will the future of consoles look like? Will we see midlife cycle upgrades like this generation, or will they have an option for upgrades like PCs?
Question mark.
We come back to you next week on Dragon Ball Z. So that's Sam's question.
Dragon's Ball Pad.
Dragon's Ball Pay. A true Saiyan always sprinkles when he tinkles. He didn't invite me to his birthday party. The cake was delicious. Fucking love that shit. Freezy pop!
Oh, thank you, Oni.
All right.
Are you gay?
Yeah. All right, so this is the question. Obviously, what in your opinion will the future of consoles look like? Will we see midlife cycle upgrades like this generation? Will we have the option for upgrades like PCs? We have talked about this topic before, so we'll just give a quick thought across everyone at the table, what we think in a few sentences to answer this question for Sam. What do you think, Caitlyn? What do you think next generation?
Just PC. I think we're going to do away with consoles. It's just going to be PC.
So no more consoles, just computers.
Yeah.
Okay. Shawn, what do you think?
I think unless gamers take a stand, it's going to keep going as is until PCs and consoles homogenize. Same answer as before.
Yeah. I think next generation, at least, we'll see strong launches that will probably push 4K. And then I do think we'll see mid-generation upgrades. Whatever the next big thing becomes that gamers are looking forward, whether it be... I don't know. Right now it's 4K. I never would have thought it'd be 4K. Hopefully with these next big pushes in consoles, if they do push the power to display 4K, maybe we'll get an option to do 1080 at 60. I would love that. That's like my favorite way to play games right now is 1080 at 60. 1080 at higher than 60 usually. But if we can get 1080 at 60 on all consoles across all games, that'd be fantastic. I still think 30 frames per second is a cardinal sin that should not be allowed. I don't know why it still exists today, but that's because people push graphics, they don't push performance. That's just how it is. So I would love to see that. I hope we get super strong enough consoles to do that. But I do think in the future, I think consoles aren't really going anywhere. Because I think although a decent portion of people that do play games have a computer, they also own a console. As long as exclusives are still a thing, we'll still see consoles. I don't necessarily think they'll homogenize into PCs because I think people just want to be able to come home, stick a disc in their thing, and play a game. I don't. Again, we can't really tell exactly what will be going down in the future. But I think consoles really aren't going anywhere anytime soon. And the next generation of consoles will be here. Who will win this generation? What do we think, guys? Who will win the next generation? Because this generation was definitely PlayStation 1. Do you think Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo?
I still think PlayStation.
I think if Sony doesn't repeat their mistakes with this one, I think they'll get it.
Okay.
What I meant by homogenized, dude, is they've already done it before. They've had systems that were just canned PCs, and they worked very well. And I think that's what systems are going to be from now on. I think the days of custom hardware... I mean, the days of custom hardware are already gone. They are just canned PCs now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would definitely agree then. Yeah.
And like if you really think about it, the iMac it's a canned computer. There's only set versions of iMac. You get this one, it comes with this. You get this one, it comes with that. It's all one piece. It's all together. You come home, you turn it on, just like a console. There's not really a huge difference there between what they do with iMacs and what they do with Sony and Xbox and all that shit. Xbox is trying to get rid of something that's specifically a console and move towards like price range pre-built, Microsoft PCs that are able to play Xbox games because they've got Live installed or some shit. I don't think Sony's going to go that route, but I think that eventually they're going to be forced to do something similar because the landscape has changed.
Yeah,
that's what I meant.
So you think Sony's going to continue? I don't think Nintendo will ever win a console generation if they continue the way they're going now.
Up on that.
But Xbox is making steps into setting themselves up for a good next generation. They're buying a bunch of companies. They're trying to get new IPs out there, new exclusives for their systems, and things of the sort. So if they are able to capitalize on all these steps they're taking and do it properly, and we don't have an Xbox One launch again, Xbox could see a strong standing next generation, and I think they might, as long as they play their cards right. They have a lot of companies. I don't know them all. I know Ninja Theory is one of them, and they make fantastic games. And if they get some solid, like, just Xbox exclusives out and give people a reason to get out there and buy an Xbox and play Xbox, which doesn't currently exist besides a few titles here and there, then they might see better standings next generation. And I think that they're working towards that. And I hope the best for Xbox, because I think competition's always good. Always nice to have competition, because then we benefit in the end because we get better products. So I definitely think about that. What about you guys listening, tuning in? Let us know what console company or what company do you think will win the next console generation as we move into like PlayStation 5 and Xbox One, whatever the fuck it's called. So Xbox 2.
Think about it. If Xbox hadn't fucked up so badly when out the gate, Sony would have made a wiser choices when they made their consoles. I don't think they would have made the same decisions. But because the pressure wasn't on, they could do whatever the fuck they wanted to. So they got lazy. With that PlayStation Pro and everything that they've done, like the refusal to do cross play, all that I think would be extremely different right now if Microsoft had actually been a contender and not been completely fucking retarded.
Oh yeah, definitely. The reason, all the decisions PlayStation made up until now is because they know they're currently the big dogs, and they don't have to give way in these areas because they know they have the subscription base. They have the people that have these consoles that are willing to play on these consoles. They know they don't have to give up ground anywhere, so they're just sticking to their guns. Now, they're being cunts about it, obviously, but I do agree with you 100%. If there was if they had Xbox riding their ass the whole time, then they'd be willing to make these choices and give way here and there in order to seem, I don't know, more consumer friendly, I guess. But I do agree with you 100%. So
also another thought, the whole x86 architecture thing, like moving away from custom architecture because it's much more expensive and moving into a common architecture that's easier to write for, makes sense in the industry, but I think gaming has suffered for it because with the systems being so similar now, you run into situations like we have now where they're trying to find these tiny little ways to be different to draw people in, and the only option they have is first party titles and special arrangements, console exclusives. That's the only thing to draw people in now, which I think chokes the industry. I think it makes it much more difficult because now you only have one thing that's going to draw people because your systems are nearly identical. They have nearly identical capabilities. So you're not going to sit there and choose one over the other. People used to choose Genesis because it ran a little bit faster. They would choose Super Nintendo because it had more colors. They choose Genesis because it had more shooters or more fighting games, and Super Nintendo had more kids games. Whatever it is, there was plenty of differences between the Saturn and the PlayStation, the PS2 and the Xbox and the GameCube, or et cetera, et cetera. And now there isn't. There's just not enough different. If you're lucky, the difference between the Xbox One is it does like a half a teraflop more or something like that, or more. It has a few more teraflops, which accounts for a minute difference, and it's got an HD. It's got a 4K drive in it. That's it. That's all it's got over the Pro, and that's a little bit of an edge, but that's not enough to outdo the titles. But when you've got a system that this is clearly strong here and this is clearly strong there, you've got more competition. The other ones have to fight to get that audience over. And we got better systems. We got a lot higher quality control on games. You didn't have fucking Unity situations happening. People had to work harder to get your attention. And I think when you've got a playing field that's so dulled down now because of the unified architecture idea, I think it helps work against us. But that's just a thought I just had. Continue.
All right. So that was that question. Like I said, Lark, we will move into your question as we get to the main topic because it will push us into the main topic. We'll use it as a segue. So we aren't forgetting you. I do appreciate you sending us one in. We will get to you as we move into the main topic. So let's move on to our box office tops. We're going to move forward. Guys, what do we think is number one this week?
I don't even know what movies are out. I've been busy with you guys.
Is it Ant-Man?
Ant-Man is out. That is one option.
I don't know.
Skyscraper's out.
Ant-Man's on its second week,
The
though.
Incredibles out? So, no?
Skyscraper's out.
Incredibles?
Incredibles is in its fifth week.
It should be number one soon. The movie was fantastic.
So what do you go? You go with Ant-Man, Caitlyn?
Yeah.
What about you, Shawn? You have any idea?
No, I don't even.
Me too.
Remember, to be honest.
Okay. So number one, we have, would you believe it, Hotel Transylvania 3 Summer Vacation.
God damn it. Disappointing.
Yeah, that would probably be.
Made $44 million for the weekend. This is July 13th to the 15th on a budget of $80 million, sitting in its first week. At number two, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp pulling $28 million, sitting at a total of
Skyscraper's probably 3.
Sitting at $132 million. At number three, we do in fact have Skyscraper pulling $25 million for the weekend with a budget of $125 million, sitting in its first week. And at number four, we have Incredibles 2 pulling $16 million, sitting at a total of $535 million.
What number was that? Number what?
4.
Yeah.
5 is probably Jurassic Stupid.
And its fifth week. And at number five, we have Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom pulling $15 million, sitting at a total of $363 million in its fourth week. Some honorable mentions. We have Sorry to Bother You sitting at seventh, pulling in $4 million for the weekend, sitting at a total of $5 million. We have The First Purge sitting at $9 million with a total of $49 million.
I want to see The First
Purge is the cinematic version of Call of Duty. I'm so fucking tired of that shit.
I want to see it though.
Some other new movies that came out. We have one called 8th Grade, one called Sorma. I have no idea. Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. But all these are in like 20 to 30, so I have never heard of any of them either. So that's the movies. What's been going on? Has anyone seen anything that they want to talk a little bit about before we move forward? Something they want to share an opinion on? I heard Ant-Man was overwhelmingly mediocre.
Shit. Incredibles, the only good movie that's been out all year.
Yeah, but we talked about that already. We saw that.
When
we first saw it, that Sunday, we came back and talked about the movie.
I don't remember.
You don't remember that? Damn, Caitlyn.
No.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it on an episode, and you were there.
I was not.
I think you were.
I don't know. I don't think so. Because my friend was over.
Maybe. What do you think about Incredibles 2 again?
It was amazing. No, it's like the best movie I've seen in the past few years. I'm not gonna joke.
I'm glad you liked it. When I sat down and like truly thought about it, I thought that the villain from the first Incredibles had more of a motive than the one from the second. She never really like fully explained herself in the second movie. It's just kind of like, oh, I don't.
She hates superheroes because I don't want to spoil anything.
Because reasons.
Yeah. I mean, she has
That's
a
enough
reason,
motive.
but enough. I don't know. I don't know. I just felt like the villain, because
Who's
you
the
see him
villain
right
in the
off the
first
bat,
one?
and he's
Oh,
built
wait,
up
what's his
better
face?
in the initial one. I don't know which one I liked more, the first, the second. I thought they're both fantastic films, and Pixar always manages to outdo themselves.
Pixar is like, I'm a hoe for them.
You're a hoe for Pixar.
Definitely. Pixar is my
She's like,
shit.
I will fuck any Pixar that comes my way. I'm just loose like that.
No, I love Pixar, dude.
I'm glad
They're
you
like
do.
my favorite company. Disney. Who the fuck cares? Now Pixar.
Pixar's a part of Disney, but
Yeah,
But they
Disney
weren't,
owns
you know,
Pixar.
like they're not though.
okay.
Like
Kids
they're
like
they're
Confucius say.
like they
They are, but they are not, though.
They are, but they're not though, you know, like
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
They are, but they aren't. It is the conundrum of the ages.
Indeed. Put my finger in my bum. Wasn't Confucius the ones that had all the dumb ones, like if you drop watch in toilet, bound to have shitty time, or something like that?
No.
Because Confucius, I don't think wasn't he not like an actual?
Man who goes to bed with an itchy butt wakes up with stingy finger.
Okay. Alright.
that reminds me of just Facebook 2005. That's like the only thing that pops into my head when I hear those. We Happy Few is gonna be awesome. I'm buying that game on PC.
I think you mean PlayStation?
I'm not buying that shit for PlayStation. I have a feeling it won't run very well. You can play it on the computer. What the fuck?
But I'd rather play with a controller.
You can play with a controller
Not an
on the
Xbox
computer.
Controller.
I could plug the PlayStation controller into the computer.
Okay, I need options.
Shawn, you said you had an issue with Jurassic World? You were saying
Oh, no,
earlier?
it was just stupid. It was
okay.
fun, but it was really stupid.
Okay.
The
I've
first
heard
one was
the same.
the moment you stop and think about the original Jurassic World, you start to realize how stupid it was. But the second one, you don't have to stop and think.
They just remind you on a daily.
Yeah, like every 5 seconds, it's like, look at this dumb thing that's happening. Look at this dumb choice this person's doing that no person in real life would ever do. Like, and when characters are making choices that are not believable for any character to make, then it just gets extra butt itchy. But it was fun. It was just really dumb.
Okay. Yeah, the only thing I know,
don't think that anybody should see it.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason it makes so much money is family goes, they take their kids, dinosaurs. Pretty much it. It is an action film. Yeah. So
Yeah. The dinosaurs aren't even the draw anymore, though, because I mean, I mean, don't get me wrong. I still turn into a fucking, 6-year-old at the movies when I see CG dinosaurs. I'm like, oh, it's a T-Rex, like every time. And
I'm
a lot
always
of
like,
people
ew,
are-
my eyes hurt.
Yeah, like, oh, I don't know, man. I think if you were ever once an 8-year-old boy or girl, dinosaurs will never stop being magical, and so you can't. I mean, as long as they're well animated, I'll never say no to a dinosaur movie. But as for the plot that sits inside the dinosaur movie, if it wasn't Chris Pratt, that movie would have been just
flop.
I don't know. I don't think anybody would have been. Yeah, like it's entirely his reactions that save that movie, and the fact that there's awesome dinosaurs in it, and the fact that Tyrannosaurus Rex rips like two T-Rexes rip a dude in half. That's all I need to say. Like that's the entire reason to go see that movie is to see a dude get Gucci'd in half.
Gucci. Shit.
All right, so those were the box office tops. What's been going on in the theaters? Move on to the next segment we got. We have what to look for. We got shit coming out this week, fellas and lady.
I'll say.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Maybe might interest you, maybe not interest you. One I don't think you ever heard of before. We got Adventure Time, Pirates of the Enchiridion. I have no idea how to say that. So on the PS4, Xbox One, and PC July 17th. And we have Sonic Mania Plus coming to PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC July 17th. I guess it's like a Game of the Year edition. I have no idea. So that's that. Got some games coming out. Probably won't pick up either of them because I will be broke come like fall, just because all of fall is going to be a mess. So I'm trying to save up and make the hit to the wallet not as bad. So we got 2 articles to talk about real quick. Like I said earlier, not really much has been going on in the realms of video games. And the first one is, apparently, in Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, they are bringing back Jesse and James. Caitlyn, prepare for trouble. And make it double.
And make that double.
Yeah, that's all I remember. I don't remember the rest of it. To deny our truth to the ones we love, something like that. I don't fucking remember. Jesse, James. They were so incompetent at their job. Like, horribly so. Just to catch a Pikachu. One of the shittiest Pokemon to exist. Okay. So this is Kevin Knezovic of GameSpot. We have, along with the new English trailer, the Pokemon Company has shared a Japanese theatrical trailer for Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. The ad showcases some more footage of the upcoming Nintendo Switch RPG, but most notably, it gives fans their first look at the pair of familiar faces who will be returning in the games. Jesse and James of Team Rocket. Just as in the classic Pokemon Yellow version, which served as the inspiration for the upcoming titles, it appears Jesse and James will play a recurring role in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. In the theatrical trailer, you can see them confronting the protagonists on Mount Moon. The theatrical trailer also shows off some brief footage of Pikachu battling Zapdos and a Moltres, 2 of the legendary birds. That Peach is going to get butt-fucked. 2 of the legendary birds from Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. This is particularly notable because players cannot typically battle wild Pokemon in Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee, suggesting that legendaries may be the exception to this rule. So they continue to show us stuff this game. I like that they're going for the same, like a feel like in the anime. It's the original Johto region. You have some of those characters reappearing. You're kind of like the character that leaves after Ash or something like that, although you still get a Pikachu or in place of Ash. But it heavily reminds me of the anime, and just, I don't know, that feeling gets me giddy. It's definitely not a mainline Pokemon game, and we've known that for a while. So but it kind of more captures the spirit of the collectathon kind of style that like the trading card game was originally and stuff like that, instead of the turn-based RPG team battling thing that was going on before. So that's that. I'll still probably be picking up this game. I want to see it. I think it looks pretty, and I say that, and I'm going to buy it and not play it whatsoever, and I can already see that happening right now, because it's kind of happening with Octopath. I just have to like remove myself from my computer, and that's not always the easiest thing to do. I might sit down and play a shitload of Octopath tomorrow.
You are an addict.
I am indeed. That is indeed true. Put me in the DSM-5, Patient Zero. I'm
not going to lie to you. I didn't recognize that reference. I should have, but I did not.
It was, we had an episode where I don't think you were there. We were talking about video game addiction and it recently being put into the DSM-5, which is a medical.
Oh, yeah. I recognize it now.
Yeah, we talked about that. So that's that. I fucking love Pokemon. It gets me giddy, like I was saying. So we'll move on to our next article. We have Well, before we do that, Caitlyn, you think you're going to play this Pokemon game? Does it interest you in any way, shape, or form?
Hell yeah. Excuse me, if I can have an Eevee on my shoulder,
Is that what we're
I'm
getting?
down.
We're getting the Eevee version?
Yes.
Not, you don't want a Pikachu?
No.
I mean, you're not really battling often, so it doesn't matter if it's shitty.
But I want
I don't even think you can evolve your starter.
Eevee.
So if you get Eevee, you're stuck with Eevee the entire
That's
game.
okay. Actually, fuck.
I don't think you can evolve your starter. So the next thing we have some information about Anthem. Not necessarily good information, but we have a 22-year...
Shock.
What? Oh.
You said not necessarily good information. Shock.
We have a 22-year BioWare veteran has left to work on smaller projects.
Another one.
Yep, James Olin is out. This is from Eddie Macick of GameSpot. BioWare has lost one of its most veteran developers, James Olin, who had been with BioWare for 22 of the company's 23 years of operation. He has retired from the RPG studio. In a post to Twitter, Olin said he, quote, loved his time at BioWare, where he most recently worked on the new IP Anthem. As for why he's leaving, Olin said, quote, I need to take a break from the industry and work on something a little smaller and more personal. In another tweet, Olin said the projects he had the most fun with at BioWare were Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, for which he served as lead designer, as well as Neverwinter Nights. Quote, I've been a D&D fanatic since I was 10 years old, Olin said. In his post-BioWare life, Olin will stay in the fantasy space. He's collaborating with another former BioWare creative director, Jesse Skye, on the book Odyssey of the Dragon Lords. A mystery writer is also working on it. Olin's list of credits at BioWare is extensive. In addition to Anthem, he was creative director and lead designer on Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars The Old Republic, according to GL.biz. He also worked on BioWare's acclaimed Dragon Age franchise. Anthem is coming next year to PS4 and Xbox One. It is like I don't want to say Destiny clone, but it's a looter-based multiplayer shooter with light MMO aspects. So pretty much a type of Destiny game. And it's in a rough status. I still don't know. It might get pushed back even. It has already been once, I think, been pushed back. It is coming February, I think, of next year. I think it's late February. Let me look real quick.
Who is it that raped, bought BioWare?
Me.
Was it EA? Or is EA always owned BioWare? February 22nd of 2019 is when Anthem is scheduled to release.
Partnered with them.
I think it's EA. Doesn't EA own BioWare? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, it's Electronic Arts. We all know their track record. So it's interesting. I don't think a single one of these types of games, obviously they're very ambitious, but for some reason none of these types of games have had like a solid developmental cycle. Destiny had issues, Destiny 2 had a lot of issues, and now Anthem's having issues as well. I haven't heard of Division. I'm not entirely sure if that one had issues. But it's just it just freaks me out. I'm not pre-ordering this game. I have no intention to. I only pre-order games that I have a really high feeling I think will be fantastic. But I will definitely be waiting for reviews on this one. I'm not entirely sure how well it will or will not do, but another difficult thing is with these types of games, you can't really get a review in a week of the entirety of these games. They're usually grindy. Sometimes you can have the start of a game be fantastic and the end game be fucking garbage, a la Destiny 2. And it's difficult to fully kind of review a game like this, especially when they release future content as it goes on, and it's kind of like a games with service thing. So it's interesting. I hope it does well because I enjoy these types of games, and I just want to, and I want to be Iron Man, man. I want to play as Iron Man. So especially that floaty, magey Iron Man. I think he's badass looking. I like the look of this game. I want it to do well, but they're not giving me good hope for it at this point in time. So that was our news. Not really much again going on. It's been very chill since E3 ended. Everyone's kind of just in a hanging out status as we move closer to August or fall, as I've said. So we're going to move into our main topic, but we're going to move in with Lark's question. As I said before, we'll answer it first and then move further into the discussion, see how far we get. Lark sends in, what is an IP that you wish would be brought back with all the TLC it deserves? What did you enjoy about the original? What was the issue you had with the original, and why did you enjoy the game? My choice would be Hellgate London. That game has so much potential, but was pushed out too early. So it could be anything. A game that, now, I'm assuming by when he says brought back, he means like a remaster, but just like really well done remaster, instead of like a sequel. So, Shawn, do you have something in particular that you really enjoyed in the past? It doesn't have to be really enjoyed, but just something you want to see come back to the limelight?
Ooh.
I know we kind of did this not too long ago when we did Resurrected Genre, but this is a
I can only pick one.
He says an IP, so it could be, it could be like a series of games. But yeah,
well, Mega Man's already coming back.
Hopefully, it's better than that other Mega Man clone that was.
It's going to be perfect. Shut your mouth.
Shit.
Mega Man Legends, it'd be nice to see that come back. Castlevania.
Was Legends the first-person shooter?
No, Mega Man Legends was the... Mega Man takes place in centuries. Like, the games are centuries apart. There was the original Mega Man. A few centuries later, you've got Mega Man X. A few centuries after that, you've got the NT one. There's like 3 or 4 that happened on Game Boy.
Oh, you gave me
Each
my
one
answer.
takes place in the same universe, right?
You gave me my
But the
answer.
final one, the oldest one, is Mega Man Legends. That takes place in the distant future.
Does it have
Like
like
they
all
don't
the
even
Mega
have
Mans
any
in it?
memory of the previous ones. No, it's just it's a new Mega Man, and it's done 3D like Mario and whatnot.
Okay.
So you explore 3D. The controls were janky as fuck, but the game
It
has
was
its
on
hardcore
PlayStation,
fan
right?
base.
Or not PlayStation.
It was on PlayStation and 64.
Yeah, I played that game. It had kind of first-person shooter elements to it.
The dungeons, when you went indoors,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
there was something like that.
Yo,
They made 2 of them.
I remember the fuck out of that game. I had like fond memories of that game.
Yeah, I'd like to see that come back. I'd like to see Cell Shaded Link come back. But in terms of like IPs, I'd either go with Castlevania or Mega Man Legends. I think going back to either of those would be pretty fantastic.
Okay, so if you do go with Castlevania, what did you enjoy about the original so much that you want to see it return?
Everything. The music was amazing. They were the first games of the time. First of all, it was the first horror game to make any kind of splash whatsoever. There were other horror games on Atari, but come on now.
Yeah, how far
come
can
on
you
now.
give it to Atari?
It was challenging. It was difficult. The music was amazing. The scenery, the graphics, every installment of Castlevania up to Symphony of the Night brought something new to the table, did something different, gave you different levels of challenge, and it expanded on the lore. And Castlevania of the Night brought it into the Metroid arena, which I thought was really good. And it kind of it gave you the same. I think it was easier in parts, but it gave you the same, action, so to speak. But you had more that you could do and more to explore and loot and things like that. And they did a lot more with the story, and it expanded what a Castlevania game could be. And then they had 2 on the PlayStation 2 where they brought it into 3D. I thought those were both really good, but the second one especially was amazing and was probably one of the highest points in the series. I don't understand why it didn't make a bigger splash because I thought it was extremely well made, but I'd like to see them bring back Castlevania in 3D like that second one on PlayStation 2, but with a better story. And I'd also like to see them bring back 2D Castlevania. But I'd like to see both styles come back.
Okay. Did you have any issues with the original that you'd like to see rectified?
The knockback's kind of annoying.
Okay.
Knockback was worse than Ninja Gaiden, which would also be nice to see make a comeback, but that knockback could be brutal. And the rest of it was all designed that with certain. No, you know what? You know what the most annoying thing in Castlevania was? Always getting the room clearing rosary right before you left the room, so it was fucking pointless. You already killed everything. You're right at the door to move on to the next screen, and the last candle right next to the fucking door gives you a rosary that wipes everything on the screen out. Only there's nothing fucking there.
That's a rip.
That's what I would change. No rosaries dropping right before you leave a fucking room.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. I've never seen Hellgate London. I'm not entirely sure what that was. Are you familiar with it, Shawn?
I am not. It's a computer game. That's all I know.
Okay. Well, let's go on to you, Caitlyn. An IP.
What's an IP?
An intellectual property. So a type of game that you fondly remember. So like Pikmin, Dr. Mario. I don't know, something along those lines that you want to see brought back to today, made it modernized with all the TLC it needs. What's something that you have in mind?
Nintendogs.
Okay.
Dude, what the hell? Like, where'd that game go? Dude, that game, like...
Okay, Nintendogs, I like
definitely
it.
Definitely Nintendogs.
Okay, let's finish this question.
Can you imagine that being on the Switch, my guy?
I'm not gonna lie, Nintendogs on the Switch.
That would be
got
lit.
Me a little interested.
Thank you.
It's got me a little interested.
Thank you.
What was one issue that you had with the original Nintendogs?
I had no issues, dude.
No, perfect game. Game of the year, like, game of the century.
Sometimes, like...
It looked like shit. But that's because it was on the DS.
Yeah, this was on, like, the first DS. The one that didn't even, like... Not the light. The one before the light.
Yeah, the fat-ass one.
Yeah. I guess... The, like, taking care of the... Like, when you walk the dogs...
Uh-huh.
Like, they shit too easily.
So you want to make the walking to shit ratio.
Yes.
You want to increase the skill gap for the higher tier players.
When we walk our dog, like, he takes 5 years to shit. Yeah, so they just go out and they're like, done. So, like, I want to walk my dog longer. You want to increase
the skill gap, add a difficulty rating to the game.
Definitely.
I got you. What did you enjoy about the original so much that you wanted to be brought back?
Dude, like, I didn't have a dog at the time.
Okay.
So I was just like, this is so cool. Like, I have a dog, you know?
Gosh, damn it. I don't know. It'd be cool as fuck if, like, Tamagotchi came back. Remember Tamagotchi?
Oh, like a Switch Tamagotchi.
No, I'm just thinking.
You know what I miss? I miss Nintendo's. Because,
nice.
All about that hoe life.
Indeed. You take care of your hoe. Make sure she shits when you walk her.
She can't she can't switch
money.
If she talks back, she gets the pimp slap. I can just imagine, like, you have the little tools on the right hand side. You have, like, the leash, and there's like just like a purple glove to give her the bitch slap with. You do it with the stylus.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
This just went to a bad place.
I was on this already.
Okay, an IP that I wish could be brought back. Now I'm not gonna fuck around. I'm 100% serious with this suggestion. I want
Nintendogs.
Nintendogs too. I want Mega Man Battle Network. It was a line of games that was from Game Boy Advance to DS that were RPG card-based games. They were like action RPG. So you'd move around an overworld and you'd get into a battle like Pokemon-esque, and then you'd be dropped on I want to say there's two sides that are each 3x3. And you have Mega Man on the left, and on the right you have the enemy. And you have the blue side, the red side, and then you get dropped cards that drop down. The cards have a letter and a style connected to them. So it could be like a cannon card, or it could be like an A cannon or a B heel, and the cards will match. So you can either have multiple cannons, or if you have a cannon that's an A cannon and an A heel, you can match those. And then they get dropped into your like chip loader. And those are the abilities you can use while you wait for your turn to recharge. And then it goes into an action RPG. Or if you hit the directional pad, you move amongst the 3x3 square that you have on your side. And the enemies can also move, and they fire their own abilities. There's unique enemies. And the whole premise of the game is that Mega Man is a program, not a robot. And this program, Mega Man, you can jack him in. It's super technological. So everything has like a USB jack of some sort that you could jack in. And then you could drop your program in anything, and everything's connected by the internet, and you could move through the internet, and it was like a whole second world that Mega Man works through. And they were all like I've played almost all of them on emulators like 3 to 4 times because they are all like fantastic games. I really enjoy them. And it was some of the earlier exposure I had to RPGs as well, at least of that type. Usually the story was serviceable. It was nothing super crazy besides like the last game, because there was like this like giant virus called the Psy Beast, which is like just a cyber beast, and Mega Man gets infected, and it's kind of dark because Land can lose Mega Man, and he can technically die, blah blah blah. But I thought the idea of the Psy Beast was cool because you can unleash it, but depending on how much you use it, Mega Man gets more and more corrupted. And you can straight up kill Mega Man by using his power too much. So you kind of have to balance the idea of, do I need this power now or can I do without it? And do I want to be a badass for a few turns and kind of corrupt Mega Man and see how far I could get with using this ultimate power? I always thought the ideas were cool. The internet areas always had like puzzles and shit that you went through. Sometimes you'd have puzzles that you go through on both sides. So like Land can be trapped and being attacked by something. So Mega Man has to be jacked in and work through devices on the internet so that he can unlock something in the real world that Land can proceed to continue to use to do a puzzle or something. All were super awesome games. They eventually went to DS as well. I'd love to see a console.
They started on handheld. That was always handheld, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was always handheld. I'd love to see like a console fidelity like Mega Man Battle Network game that's like super pretty, something to the I would love it on the Switch. I would fucking die today if they announced something like that on the Switch. I'd be all over that shit. And I enjoy the gameplay and the way the games play, the way you can upgrade Mega Man. They also had like you can install programs into Mega Man. And you could make like a chip folder, almost like the old Yu-Gi-Oh games where you could make your own deck. And you'd like walk around and run into people to fight. You could do the same thing with Mega Man where it will pick what cards you have. So you could build like ultimate folders of chips that either match with each other or are stronger. The programs you can install into Mega Man get him additional passives, either make his Buster Shot stronger or make chips pair or even give him an elemental damage type. And it will even change the look of Mega Man. So you can have like a water style of it. Super, every version, at least on the Game Boy Advance versions, all introduced some kind of new gameplay mechanic that made the gameplay style feel better. Got Bruce at the door whining like a cunt. I fucking hate. No, you can't let him in because he's gonna be noisy. He has to learn how to stay outside. I spend every other waking moment with this dog in this room. He's not allowed in here while we podcast. No, we're not opening the door. So I would love to see this series come back, like console. Fine, let him in. The moment he makes noise, he's going back out. I would love to see this game series get like a really good console version that they bring back. Keep going. That they bring back, and just that it looks good. Again, on the Switch, I think would be a perfect place. It's a game that has always been a mobile style game. It's always been designed to be played on the go, and I'd love it to be played on the go on my Switch. I would devote my life to that. Right now,
that would be a good fit for the Switch.
Yeah, I think so too. And
you know what? I'd like to add one other game. I'd like to add Alundra.
Alundra? Is that?
Yeah, PS2 and PS1, especially PS1, had this huge swath of just excellent JRPGs. It was this big golden age, and one of those games was Alundra, which was at the time there weren't any. There was this huge gap in Zelda games. So like exploration puzzle games just weren't coming out, and usually all you had was Zelda for that. But somebody made Alundra, which was clearly an homage to Zelda. Like there was tons of stuff they just took straight out of it. Yeah. But the puzzles were harder. The gameplay was more precise, and it was a harder game in general. And I had a lot of fun with that game. It'd be nice to see that and the Suikodens and the Azure Dreams and things like that come back. But out of all of them, I would love to see them bring back Alundra, because I think not only for people who don't own Nintendo, it would give them a chance to enjoy what makes Zelda so special. The only, I'd say, downside is that you don't have that certain Zelda magic. Alundra lacks that personality that it has, but it's got its own thing going on because it's based off of anime principles. Mm-hmm. So everything in it's all hand-drawn anime characters, and I don't know, it was a lot of fun, and they made 2 of them, and then the game just dropped off the map. So it'd be cool to see that come back too.
Definitely. Sounds cool. Yeah, so that's
You'd have
that.
liked it.
Let me see. Did I fully answer the question? I mean, I kind of gushed about it, so I'm assuming that gave me something that might have annoyed me about the original series of games. I mean, I guess the story was serviceable, but it was never fantastic. I always thought the characters were nice, but maybe something more engaging of a story. I mean, I don't know how much you can do with it. I thought that the Cybeast Gregar and Cybeast Falazar games, which I think were the 6th in the franchise, I thought those were pretty engaging with the idea, the gameplay mechanic they introduced and corrupting Mega Man. I thought that was pretty cool. I actually kind of cared about whether or not I was killing Mega Man or not. So I guess that was probably the most tense the story ever got. They were very like Saturday morning cartoon level villains when you ran into them that had very simple motives and stuff. So maybe a deeper story would be something. It never really annoyed me because I felt it was serviceable, but that'd probably be the only gripe that I have with the games. I always thought they were really good and they felt fantastic and they were really fun to play. So that's that. So thanks for your question, Lark. If any of you want to send us a question, you can do so through Gmail at ThoughtPatrolcast@gmail.com. Discord is probably the easiest way to do so. You could join our server. The link would be in the description on the YouTube video, the description on the podcast service you're listening to. It's always down there, and you could come join our the Thought Patrol podcast server and hang out with everybody. And there's a mailbag segment there that you could send us mailbag questions. You can do it through Twitter with that hashtag. I think it's TP Mailbag. I think it's hashtag TP Mailbag, or just add us on Twitter with your question. And that's pretty much the only ways you can do it. So you got a few ways to send us a question. We'd love to hear from you guys. We'll answer pretty much any question. You can tell probably that we don't have many filters here on the show. So anything you want to ask us, from the color of the tip of your penis to the meaning
I was just
of life.
thinking, like, how big are your cocks?
To the meaning of life, we will answer to the best of our abilities, and we'd love to hear from you guys. So we're going to use Lark's question to kind of move into the main topic, talk a little bit about that before we call it a night. And as I was saying before, in honor of Octopath Traveler coming out, which is a technical love letter to Final Fantasy fans and fans of the old 16-bit RPG days, we're going to talk a little bit about remaking or the creation of retro games in the modern day, the purpose it serves, and pros and cons of doing it. So I'm going to start to kind of set an idea, since I was one that thought of it. So like I was saying, so Octopath Traveler, again, it is to give you that retro feel that old 16-bit games had from like Final Fantasy 1 to 6 kind of era. I don't really know a lot of super old like RPGs that are like that. I'm sure Shawn can service that part better. But even in the realms of when we talk about Nier Automata and the idea that they use older gameplay elements in their game to push the game forward, because the thing about games that is cool is, although games get old, they never necessarily get bad as they age. Sometimes you can have a gameplay element become grating on a different generation of gamers, but at the time, usually a good game at its time will stay good up into modern day. So when we see these people remake and take either gameplay elements or take the fashion or style of a older game and redo it to fit a modern audience, I think one of the cool things about that is you're giving a look into history for those that might have not have played those games back then, and you're opening a newer generation to a older gameplay style. Now, who's to say that a 12-year-old playing Fortnite that plays Octopath and enjoys it will go back and play the older Final Fantasies? That's not necessarily always the case. But the idea that they're being opened up to that gameplay style, which can then in turn open up to more retro games being made in a modern style in the future, is a cool thought. I think it's a cool idea. Now, one of the things that I was thinking about with it with Octopath at least, is would Octopath be as impactful if it didn't look like a 16-bit game? And thinking when these games, these retro games are being like Celeste. Celeste was made in the idea of a old platforming game, and it has the look of an old platforming game. Now, the interesting thing about like the 8 to 16-bit era is before we moved into early 3D graphics like with Final Fantasy VII, you can go back and play those games, and they look old. You can count the polygons, you can tell this game is dated. But the cool thing about 8 and 16-bit is the way that it's done, and that art style in general. You can tell that it's an old style, but it never necessarily looks dated because of the way that the design goes. And as long as there's love put into the sprite work and animation, for the most part, those games are serviceable today. And you see it with Octopath, you see it with Celeste, and that art style still holds up today because it can still be pretty in its pixely nature. Oh, excuse me. Goodness gracious, I've been talking for a while. So that was kind of the idea. And I don't really know where I'm going with this, to be honest. Because
that makes two of us.
Nothing has happened in the past week. And I was sitting there racking my brain as I was thinking of the main topic that we haven't talked about before. And this came to mind, and it sounded better at the time compared to what I just uttered. So, yeah. So I'm thinking, Shawn, I know you haven't played Octopath Traveler. I know you eventually intend to play Octopath Traveler whenever getting a Switch is something that you can stomach at this point in time. Because I could 100% agree that a Switch, even now, although I'm happy I have one, I could totally understand someone not having one, right? Because it's not necessarily like there's nothing you're really, really missing out on, nothing game-changing going on the Switch, unless you're a huge Nintendo fan.
Was.
So I think the idea here is, as we look into the past of older games, right? What are things that we can pull, or I'm thinking on the lines of, if we were making a game, a retro game, what are things that we can pull from the past and modernize to improve gameplay elements that exist today? Kind of get the idea that I'm going at? I know it's hard.
I don't think that's what retros... Well, we only call them retro games because they echo games that came out before, but that doesn't mean the game is in any way retro. Just because it uses an art style or an art technique that's been used before doesn't mean that... I mean, I played games that use bit-style graphics that are far more advanced than anything I've played polygonally. I think a lot of it's just an artistic choice. Some people like the way certain things look. And I think that sometimes it's to give people nostalgia. And I hate the word nostalgia because it always seems like, I don't know, it always seems like it's reductive. It seems reductive. I think the word nostalgia seems reductive. I think that it makes things sound like, oh, we're making this just because you miss the good old days. And that's not what it is. Nostalgia is an attachment of feelings and emotions and to memories and times and places, but that doesn't mean that's the reason why you love a game. Like, you love a game because you loved that game. It gave you a lot of joy. You would like to play more games that give you joy. And if an art style and a gameplay type was something that you greatly enjoyed, then playing another game like that isn't reductive. I don't know. I always thought that nostalgia felt kind of like a negative thing. Like, oh, how quaint. And I just don't see it as being that way. That's why I don't like the usage of the word. But to me, having played, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know, over a half dozen generations of game consoles now and games, the more advanced the system, the more you can do with a game. But to be honest, I haven't seen games expand outside of what Xbox was able to do by adding a hard drive. You know, I haven't seen them go, and I'm not saying, so that was the last major revolution for me, was seeing, because Xbox was able to do bigger games because it would spool data to the hard drive. So you could do something that was more massive. It had more territory because you could pull things off of the disk, put it into memory, and then have it spool to the hard drive while it was running things out of memory. You know, it would have the hard drive doing stuff over here while the actual console was using its memory to run certain parts of the game. The hard drive is doing something else, and you could save parts. You could have things packed on the disk that could be unpacked on the hard drive, and then again you'd have a larger game. But outside of that tech, I haven't seen games leap forward in terms of what they do since the PlayStation 2 Xbox era. They've been doing the same thing. They've just gotten prettier. I think that's one of the reasons why my attention span has dropped so much. The last time I was like in deep into games was on the PlayStation 2, where that's all I did 24/7. Like, it would take me away from anime, it would take me away from socializing. Like, I had to mentally make an effort to go and hang out when I had massive amounts of friends, because I was having such a good time with games, because they were at like the peak, and it plateaued then, and it hasn't really changed a lot. Yes, there's more social gaming now. Yes, you have games that are able to, you couldn't have had a Dragon Age back then. You know, you couldn't have done PC complex stuff on home consoles. So it has increased a little bit. But for me, when you have these retro games come out, they're showing you, they're like different art styles, they're showing you different play styles, they're bringing things back that we've left behind because we thought we didn't need them anymore. You have people now like Hector. Hector refuses to play side scrollers. He doesn't see the value in them. He didn't grow up with them being a major part of gaming culture. And that makes me sad. I don't hold it against him that he does, it's not his taste. But I think one of the reasons why it's not his taste is he hasn't seen why it's valuable or why it can be wonderful. And I think retro games serve a purpose by bringing back play styles and ideas and art styles into mainstream consciousness that people may have forgotten about, or younger generations haven't had a chance to play, and they can see how wonderful and how in-depth that is. That's why I loved Nier so much, even though I haven't been able to chance to play the full game. Why that I just, money's been a little weird, but Nier brought in a variety of play styles into a deep narrative, and you did not see that until the PlayStation 2 started bringing games out like that, where they would switch from a hack and slash to a bullet hell to a puzzle back to a hack and slash, and it was such a seamless transition story-wise that you never registered to you that you were actually playing multiple different games wrapped into one, because it used to be they were all one thing. And recently they've gotten back to that. When you buy a game, it's just this or it's just that. Unless it's an MMO where they have tons of like little grindy things, or an RPG where they stick stuff in to pad out time. Normally when you buy a game, it's one thing. You know, or it with light, sometimes they'll put light elements of other things, but it tends to be dedicated to this one thing. And games used to force more variety because they wanted to show off what they could do. And I think attention spans and gaming culture has changed. You don't see that as much. And I think that's why people thought Nier was so refreshing, because you have this team that was used to doing games like that back in the day, and they wanted to bring that back, that variety, that spice. And when you dig into your past, you can use that to enrich the future and enrich what you're doing now. That's why retro gaming is important. I think that's more important than the nostalgia. And I don't think it's always nostalgia that causes them to do that. There's some developers out there that just like doing, 16-bit or 32-bit or 8-bit style artwork because they think they like that. They like that appeal. They think it's artistic. everything doesn't have to be sexy and pretty all the time for it to be wonderful. I think it's how the total composition comes together that's important. I'm done.
Me.
One thing I had it and poof. What the fuck was I gonna say? Oh no, I had it and then poof.
Sorry.
It came like at the last second too. I had it and then poof. Wow, I'm so sad. This episode's been shit. Oh man, but I think like with the again moving things from the past and bringing them into the present. With retro gaming, we'll keep it at that instead of. I do kind of agree with the nostalgic factor. I think it's one thing that's interesting about nostalgia is it's always a good way to open the door, kind of, because if you present someone something that they're familiar with, then they'll be more welcome to delving into it more. So, say, again, we keep using Nier as an example, but if you were a fan of top-down shooters and you play Nier in the first hour, you're almost completely doing something like that. You have opened the door by making the gamer feel comfortable with the product that they're interacting with, right? They're not out of, and not in the way that like Call of Duty doesn't make you comfortable, but it's something that you play for Call of Duty for the shooting in alone, like you're saying. It is a shooter at its heart. And that's what it does best. People go to Call of Duty for the shooting and the shooting alone with the multiplayer element. But if you were a fan of older top-down shooters and you were immediately introduced to something like that as you were playing your game, and you are on this level of understanding with the game, you are more willing to delve deeper into that game to fully understand what the developer, the reasoning behind having something like that at that time, which is one of the reasons why, again, we gush about Nier here, or at least I do, is that they understand that relationship between the player and the product being played. And I think that's cool. And that's one of the reasons I like nostalgia, is I think that, well, first of all, anything that makes you happy, I think is obviously cool as long as you're not hurting anybody. But if you play a game and the idea that you're platforming moving from left to right has brought you the joy of playing games as a child, or brought you back to those childlike years, that joy can then be, again, it's almost like it's molding it into the current experience that you have. That joy of the past, but it's a totally new experience because you have a new product that you're currently interacting with. And I think that's cool. And again, like you're saying, I always think that as games move, as IPs continue to develop, I think it's always important that something evolves. And one thing that's cool about bringing retro games to a modern era is that those choices made back then, those choices made by almost the pioneers of gaming or of those genres, they did their hardest to perfect what they could do at that time. So with that element and in that gaming element, they worked to perfect it. If we bring those perfected forms of that and bring it into an era where more can be done with those elements, again, you can see it evolve rather than change, like what Final Fantasy 15 did. We talked about that, that it didn't seek to evolve its gameplay. It seeked to rewrite its, or not its gameplay. It didn't seek to evolve its style. It seeked to rewrite its style. It didn't feel like a Final Fantasy game. It had the names, it had the music, had the idea, but the heart of what Final Fantasy was not present, at least the way we believe it, in Final Fantasy 15. They didn't seek to evolve that heart, that feeling. They seek to override it. And I think that's something that retro gaming can help with, because if that heart that was put in back then to make that genre as good as it could be in that time, if that heart is brought back towards modern and then evolved upon, we can see crazier and crazier ideas in this day and age with the way technology has advanced. Such like Celeste, such like Nier, and other games that we see take these older elements and bring them to the forefront and reintroduce them in a fresh manner that also applies nostalgia on top of that to get the gamer that is playing the game comfortable so that they can better enjoy what they're kind of working through. It's I thank you for kind of expanding upon this, Shawn. I know you've muted yourself, probably got doggo issues going on. But that was kind
Zim
of...
wanted to contribute.
Yeah, dude, he loves retro games, man. He's all about that shit. 2B's ass is the best ass. That's Zim's opinion. It does not reflect the opinions of the Thought Patrol podcast. Keep that in mind.
Kind of does, actually.
So that was kind of the idea I had when I originally thought it. Now, one thing I wanted to take kind of the devil's advocate, if we can even think of something. I don't have a devil's advocate currently, but something that could be necessarily hurtful. I guess one can argue the idea of bringing the past to the forefront could kind of hinder innovation, maybe. But I think as long as the love is put into evolving, like we've said, that's the key word of today. That's your word for the day. Evolving the original idea, the original concepts into something that fits the modern day, and then adding that love on top of it, I think innovation won't necessarily be hindered because you have a strong starting point, which gives you more time to develop its own identity, whatever IP we're talking of, as long as it maintains a part of that heart and passion that the original had put forth, kind of. But I can't necessarily sit here.
Trying to do is recapture something that existed before. If all you're trying to, like, if Mega Man comes out and all it is another Mega Man game, that would be okay. But when they've got so many years under their belt of doing more, they could expand. Like I've seen it, and they're taking it up a notch. They're expanding how the levels are explored. They're expanding how the powers work. It's still at its heart a Mega Man game. They're keeping it Mega Man. They're not trying to pull a Final Fantasy 15. This is still Mega Man. But how the levels play out, how you move, there's branching paths, there's multiple ways to use your powers. You know, they're evolving how it's played without losing what it is. And up until 15, Final Fantasy pulled that off. Even 13, as much as the storyline got really dumb and they didn't have that world to explore, you being funneled through a pretty tiny narrative, that's at least the story was interesting. But 13 was a flop in terms compared to, I mean, not financially, but in terms of the way the other games worked. It just wasn't comparable. I still liked it. I still liked the characters. I still liked playing it, but it was missing something because I think they were trying too hard to do something and they failed at it, and that's okay. 15 is not okay. They had enough time to come out with a quality product. They're known for quality products, and they screwed the pooch on that one. And I think that if you're going to evolve a series, you need to keep 3/4 of it intact and add 25% new each time, or 50% intact and add 50% new, whatever the case is. I don't know. But I know that you don't leave behind what is special about it. You don't make an entirely separate game that plays entirely differently, that has nothing in common with the games before, and call it a sequel. You don't add it into that series. 15 was a spinoff, and they made it a main entry title. If it had been a spinoff from Jump, you wouldn't have heard people complaining. Just like anybody that played Final Fantasy Type 0, they understood that was not a main entry. It was a spinoff. You're getting it to play a different gameplay style in a Final Fantasy world. And it's going to tell a different kind of story. Spinoffs are good for those experiments. But for your main entry, people are coming back for a reason. You need to make sure that reason is there, and then give them something additional to spice so that they know that this piece of cake is not the same exact flavor that they had before. They're going to get a new flavor. a new adventure with that same carrot cake. I can make 25 different kinds of carrot cake, and they all taste different and are a different experience in your mouth, but they're still carrot cake.
I want some.
I don't know if that's the perfect example, but spin-offs are what you do when you want to do 15, and they did not do that. And I think that's the primary thing. They had a chance to make a quality product, and they didn't. They screwed the story up. They remade it too many times. They kept going back to the drawing board. They kept putting new systems in place. I don't know, man. The Squares turned into Try Hard City. But I do agree that it should be an evolution of a concept, not a complete reworking, not a completely new thing. If it's a sequel, it shouldn't be completely new. There should be familiar elements that people can dive into and then learn what's different and enjoy that. None of the other games before, none of them, not a single Final Fantasy was the same as the one before. They always did some fairly significant changes.
Yeah, you could even see the same, all the shit we do talk about Nintendo, you can say the same thing about them and their mainline series games. Almost every single mainline Mario game has kept the spirit of Mario intact 100%, but they are all vastly different. And that idea that you can look at almost any Mario game's gameplay and tell for 100% accuracy that this is a Mario game, that is something unique and special that Nintendo is very good at pulling off. They do the same thing with Zelda. You can look at almost any Zelda game. You can look at how these Zelda games play, and these mainline series share the same spirit, but are all vastly different in one way or another. And that's why they are so loved by so many people and have made the childhoods of so many different people, is because they have become masters of innovating that spirit while keeping it intact. And keeping the idea of the retro that was formulated in the retro and modernizing it time and time again while keeping that spirit alive. And I think that's one thing that can be said about Nintendo that they do fantastically, is that they know how to make good games. They know how to keep the spirit of their games alive throughout all these years. And I think that's something special that those kudos do go to Nintendo for that. So, Caitlyn, do you have anything to add whatsoever? Not really. I know this topic wasn't the best, but hey, guys, This is an opportunity for you tuning in. If you thought this topic was dumb, hit us up and send us a topic. I would love to use, like last week, we'd use Sam's. We didn't know really what to talk about. Again, it's a very slow time in gaming right now as we get ready for August. I keep saying August, but fall in general. If you have something you want us to discuss that we haven't talked about before, feel free to hit us up either on Discord, email, Twitter, anywhere that's easy for you guys, and give us something that we can talk about. Then we'll always have like a backlog of viewer suggestions. If we come to a point where we're at a blockade, we can't really think about anything for this week, we have something to go back to and to get to you guys. And hey, then you have something you could submit. I'll let everyone know who submitted it, who we're talking about, and that they contributed to the podcast. That'd be something you guys can help us out with. So the idea that I thought originally, although we did do a good job of expanding upon it, fucking was not as good as I thought it was, but that's okay. Hey, you can't have a banger every week, right, guys? So that was indeed episode 58 of the Thought Patrol podcast. We are coming down to a close. And before we sign off, as always, feel free, again, to connect with us. All those methods will be below in the description of every single podcast you listen to across the internet. You will have those methods below. We would love to hear from you guys, see what kind of community that we pull with our voices, our nasty voices. And again, one of our biggest things is just hearing from you guys, seeing what kind of people you are, and just kind of making those bonds along the way. So, before we go, Shawn, you know what time it is.
Hugs and kisses and all your pink parts.
Every single pink part on your body deserves a hug and a kiss. I don't know how you'd hug the tip of a wiener, but
maybe a little bit of a nibble.
A little bit of a nibble. You never know. So, Caitlyn,
Have a good week, guys.
always hitting us with that heartfelt ending.
Live your life to
just
the
so
fullest this
intense.
week.
To make you look forward to the next week, indeed. And before we go, I shall leave you all with a thought. 1/4 of the bones in your body are in your feet.